I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, welcome everyone. We are for probably 2014's very first rendition of Free for All Friday. We haven't done one of these in quite some time, and wanted to do it, quite frankly, because of a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm overdue for some webinars for our actual subscribers and paying clients, and I wanted to get some information and content out to them. At the same time, we've got a lot of new people in the group and various groups that we've got, and they may not have necessarily heard some of the messages. I see a lot of people that are still struggling, a lot of people still not really, maybe they don't have their sea legs yet, trying to figure out which direction to go in. What's the right thing to do? What's the next step? How do I move to the next level? Struggling, they're not happy in their current situations. And so what I wanted to do today was take a few minutes. I mean, this last week for me, and I'm going to check my sound here real quick because this thing, GoToMeeting, has a real bad habit of changing my microphone settings. Let me do that real quick just to make sure I'm not blasting you guys out. Okay, looks like we're okay. Is everybody okay on that, on the sound? You can put questions over here on the right-hand side, and I'll get those. So if not, if I'm blowing you out, let me know so we can make sure that's, because it messes up the recordings also. But all right, if we go through, let's take a look at real quick just the last week of my life alone, okay? Because very many people would kill. I'm going to take a photograph and a video of what I'm looking at right now as we're shooting this webinar today, and I'll get it time and date stamped for you so you can see it from my computer screen, so you understand what it's actually like to, be a virtual real estate investor, also to have multiple streams of internet income, have multiple streams of income, and live, a life that is unordinary. There's no other way to say it. It's just extremely unordinary. I don't know of anybody else, quite frankly. Well, there's probably a couple of guys on the internet that do something similar to what we do. I think Man versus Debt does something similar. I started all this back in 2007 after reading Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which I highly advise for everyone because it's an absolute game changer and paradigm shifter. And we're going to get into why it works for me and why it doesn't work for a lot of other people, so that you can get some behind the scenes information here on, quite frankly, reality. I mean, this is time for a reality gut check for anybody and everybody that's actually on this webinar today. So the focus here is truly how to live the dream. And when you take a look at what I'm looking at and what I'm about to go do this afternoon, as soon as I get off this webinar in about a half hour, 45 minutes, people would kill for this. I mean, they just would. It truly is a dream come true in many aspects to be able to live. And please don't misunderstand. This is not braggadocio. This is not me boasting. This is not me trying to rub anything in anybody's face. Took me getting whacked over the head like whack-a-mole and losing everything to the tune of about $4.5 million in a very ugly and public bankruptcy and multiple lawsuits and everything else back in 2007 to knock me into reality to the point that I was ready, willing, able, and open to listen to the message that was in the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And there's no other way to say it. I had to go through a very horrific experience personally to even be receptive to that message. Because had it not been for what I had been through and was going through, I would not have even remotely been interested or receptive to the message that was involved in that book, nor would I have had my paradigm shifted to the point that I actually started thinking along those lines, thinking differently. And that's the big core focus of what we're going to talk about today. And this is not fluff. This is all real practical meat. This is the porterhouse steak, the filet mignon that you guys need. It's the missing component that most of you don't have, in my opinion, based on what I've seen. So let's kind of go through that. And this photograph that you see right here, I published that last night while I was on the beach. As a matter of fact, actually, within about 3 or 4 minutes of taking the actual photograph, it's my daughter. And she's up playing in the sand, and she's in her little Hello Kitty dress and her Hello Kitty bow and just having a blast. My sons are over here to the left hand. You can't see them in this photograph, but they're over here to the left-hand side with boogie boards and just having a really good time crashing into the waves and wrestling each other and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And so Wendy and I are sitting here, and it's just glorious. It's pristine. Okay, I mean, the weather was perfect. There's a nice breeze going by. You got the seagulls, pelicans flying over. All three kids are just ecstatic, having a great time. You know, we're having a nice glass of wine. Just perfection. Could not have asked for anything more. Sea was gorgeous emerald green. If you guys have never been to the Panhandle, and by the Panhandle, somewhere around Santa Rosa Beach, Watercolor Seaside, Rosemary Beach, Sea Grove, Grayton Beach, anywhere in there, this water and these beaches are some of in my opinion, they're the best in all of Florida, period, end of story. And I've been to just about every major beach that there is in Florida. And sometimes you'll see these reviews that say Longboat Key or Siesta Key are the best. And having lived there, I can tell you they're not. The Sugar Sand beaches here, absolutely fantastic. And it's truly an emerald green water, which is why they call it the Emerald Coast. Crystal clear, beautiful, just absolutely fantastic. Now, we come here, as you guys know, probably was, I guess, once a year. We stay for several months. And we've been doing that for a number of years because we just absolutely love it here. And I'm able to do that because of the way that we set our life up after losing everything. And let's get into some of that. But before we do, we don't need to talk about me. I'm going to show you how I do what I do, but we really need to apply this to you. So the first question that must be answered in how to live the dream that you have is, what is your dream? What is it? Okay. And I think that's something that most of you probably really haven't done. You got a few fantasies, maybe you got some things that, hey, that'd be cool if that happened. But if you've ever taken any time to just go off to a quiet place and get some solitude and just sit and think, okay, well, go to your happy place, go to your quiet solitude place, whatever that is, get out all the noise, the Facebook, the iPhones, all the news media, get TV, all that stuff, get away from you, and just get some peace and solitude and say, okay, I have to go back to a Brian Tracy quote here. If it were impossible to fail, what would I want to be doing? If it were impossible to fail, what is my dream? Okay? What is it? So I want you guys to think about that for a second. So did you actually think about it for a second? I mean, what is your dream? What does your dream life look like? What does it look like? Forget all the noise, all those little demons that are talking to you in the back of your head right now. Oh, you can't do that because of this. You can't do that because of that. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough time. You live in Detroit. You live wherever. These things, this is only what rich people do. You're not, whatever all this noise is that you're hearing in the back of your mind, get rid of all that for a second. And I just want you to think clearly here. If it were impossible to fail, what does your life look like? What's your dream? How much money are you making? Where are you living? How are you living? Are you living in one location? Or are you like me? You're bouncing around wherever you want to go, when you want to go. What does that look like? The average person can't conceive because they've been so ingrained and propagandized and brainwashed into, there's a certain way that we do things. There's a certain way that we do everything. You live in one house for 30 years or whatever. You buy it, own it free and clear, and then you retire there, and that's where your kids come back to, and you eventually leave it to your kids. There's nothing wrong with that if that's your dream, but I can't think of any place on earth that I want to be 365 days a year, not even here. Okay, because I'll tell you something, as wonderful as this place is right now, is miserable in the wintertime because you can't enjoy the ocean as much as the water's freezing. Okay, sometimes it's just ridiculously cold outside. So there's times when we don't want to be here as well. So, if you live in one place, why? Why do you live in one place? Is that what you want, or is that just what you got accustomed to? And I'm not criticizing because, trust me, I was there too, okay, until all this happened. So one of the biggest reasons that people fail is they never take time to dream. And I mean dream. Just take time and just daydream and get out all the noise to think through what you want your life to look like, irrespective of what anybody else thinks, has told you, your current financial situation, your current locational situation, anything. Forget everything else. What do you want it to look like? Because you have to have that first. Okay? You've got to have that concept and that vision first. They also never take time to plan. Once they've got that vision, that dream, that goal, that objective, they don't take time to plan it out. And what's even worse is they never take time to implement. And, you know, people look at some of the things that we do and they can't figure out how we do them and how we get so much done in many cases. And it's because we get very, very focused on what we're doing and we ensure that we're implementing that stuff on a daily basis. But this is the big key right here. This is the biggest reason why people don't succeed and why they live what Brian Tracy calls lives of quiet desperation. They simply don't believe. They don't believe in themselves, in their own potential, that their dream can come true, that their life can be simply fantastic, that their life can look like that movie star's life. And it can. It absolutely can, but it will never happen if you don't decide. It'll never happen if you don't make that decision that today's the last day that you stop living the way that you are right now. You have to believe, and trust me, you would. Where I came from, coming from nothing, a single parent family, if I hadn't believed, you know where I'd be? I'd be a little white trash redneck, Cal, Florida, slumming, scraping to get by, working probably some manual labor job. Not that there's anything wrong with manual labor, but my life would have been completely different had I bought into all the hype. I never settled for second best. I never accepted any of that. And I highly advise all of you to do the exact same thing. Don't settle, okay? You get one life, or you get one life like this, depending on what your religious beliefs are. You get one of these. This is it. This is not a dress rehearsal. You got to make it the very best that it can be, okay? And unfortunately, most people have been sold a bill of goods that either they're owed something, which you're not. You've been given everything you're owed. You've got that life. There it is. Now, what you do with it is entirely up to you. But if you don't take control, if you don't take advantage of it, if you don't take advantage of the opportunities, if you don't make the hard choices, it's never going to be anything other than what it is right now today. And so I'm sure you guys have heard the quote by Henry Ford before: if you think you can or you think you can't, in either case, you're right. So we're getting back down here once again to belief, okay? And the reason I keep harping on this is because without an absolute, unequivocal belief in what it is that you have the ability to do and that you're going to do it and accomplish it and succeed, you're never going to make it. You can have every other component, but if you don't have that belief, forget it. I'm just telling you, it's never going to happen. Or if it does happen, it won't be sustainable because you don't believe it. Okay. And for a lot of people, it's very hard. You see this all the time. People have never made, $100,000 a year before, or they've never made $1 million a year before. There's this belief system they have that they can't do it for, 27,000 reasons, and none of them are legitimate. The only reason that they can't do it is because they don't believe they can do it, and they're not willing to put in the effort in order to do that. So just like the Bible says, okay, even if you do believe, that's not enough. Simply believing is not enough. That's one component. Next, we got to put work in. I know it's that 4-letter word called work. Most people don't like it. They hate it. They avoid it. I love work. Hard work. You got to learn to love hard work also. Faith without works is dead. Simply believing is not enough. Believing is a step and a key to achieving, but it's not enough. Okay? Even the Bible tells you that. So you need to understand that. First, we got to get you believing, and then once we have you believing, we've got to implement and get you moving in the right direction. And this right here is probably the biggest key component that most people miss. And I've had this conversation with a couple of my coaching clients here recently. They simply never make the hard decisions, okay? And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people fail, or they fail to live up to their potential, is because they don't make the hard decisions. One of my mentors, Vince Celeste, he's in our Facebook group, also told me something 25 years ago. And I don't like sort of some of the tonality of this statement that I'm about to make, but unfortunately, there's a tremendous amount of truth to it. And what he told me was, he says, Vincent, everything worthwhile in life is hard. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. I don't like the negative connotation of that everything worthwhile in life is hard, but I will tell you, and I would think that everybody that's on this webinar would agree that that's fairly accurate. Everything that I've ever had that's been worthwhile and fulfilling and satisfying and happy in my life has been hard, okay? I'm enjoying fantastic view right now, looking at the ocean. About to go out there and drink some wine and watch the kids play and have a good time. It's nice and sunny. The weather's perfect. Sounds like the easy choice, right? But there was a lot of hard decisions in order to get here. 13 hours in the car with 3 kids. That was only one leg of the trip. Days of packing a U-Haul, unloading and unpacking a U-Haul in the rain with the movers. Okay, all that led up to making money and booking places and going through. I mean, there's just layer upon layer upon layer of work and effort and meticulous planning to be able to do this, to get here, to be able to enjoy this. And, there's a statement that they talk about that says that most people spend more time planning their once a year, 1 week vacation than they do their lives. And I can tell you firsthand that there's a tremendous amount of truth in that. And I've seen that play out with a lot of people. They can plan the hell out of a vacation. They can plan, going to a football game. They can plan going to Disney World. They can plan doing all kinds of stuff. But you start talking to them about their life and doing a daily action plan and helping them accomplish and achieve what they want to get where they want. Totally different story. They don't have the same ferocity and tenacity and zeal for that type of planning, unfortunately. And so what happens is they whittle away their lives a second at a time, each second ticking by, getting further and further away from what they want because they're not making the right decisions and they're not making the hard decisions. And this is going to be painful and it's ugly, but it is what it is. You know me, I'm going to tell you the truth. Where you are today, what is it? It's the sum of every this is deep now, every decision you've ever made in your entire life. Where you're at right now, whether you're in your truck, your car, on top of a mountain, at the beach, wherever you are in every aspect of your life, it's the sum result of every decision you've ever made. And so if you're not where you want to be, now think about this, please. I'm here to help you, and I'm trying to help you right now. If you're not where you want to be in any area of your life, financially, locationally, psychologically, spiritually, religiously, whatever, if you're not where you want to be, you need to start making some better decisions. Okay? Because you are where you are because of the sum of every decision you've ever made. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. Just like I am. Just like when I made mistakes and I ended up losing everything. You know what? Nobody's fault but mine. My fault. Nobody else's. I took responsibility for it. I owned up for it, took the hit, because I was there because of all of the decisions I had made prior to that. So the important thing here is that you need to understand that. And so when you're making these decisions, these critical decisions, you want to understand what the impact of them is going to be. And if you're not where you want to be, and I cannot emphasize this enough, you need to analyze your decision-making process. Think about what I'm saying for a second. If you're not where you want to be, and we all agree that you are where you are based on the sum of all the decisions you've ever made, and if you're not where you want to be, and where you are is because of the sum of all the decisions that you made, you need to start making better decisions, but you need to analyze the decision-making process that you go through that got you where you are today. Okay? And it takes a strong person to understand and analyze themselves and critically look at, okay, why did I make the decision that caused XYZ problems? What was I thinking? Why did I do that? Okay, how can I avoid that and not do that again. And if you take a look at most people, here's what happens. Okay, and I see this all the time. Never ceases to amaze me. Matter of fact, I told this to a client a couple of weeks ago on one of the real estate deals who consulted with me for advice and then was not taking my advice. And I'm like, you're about to shoot yourself in the foot again. And you need to understand that your decision-making process that you're going through right now is what led you to be in the situation that you were in when you came to me to begin with. And I'm trying to help you get out of it. But instead of listening to me and taking my advice, you're going through your very same decision-making process and making another bad decision that's not getting you what you want. And this is what people do, okay? And I have to be honest with you, I've never heard anybody else, any guru, any Brian Tracy, I haven't heard anybody ever say anything about this. And it hit me like a ton of bricks the other day when I was thinking through something, and I had to go back and analyze my own decision-making process on something. I was in a argument with Wendy about something, and I'm like, we were going at it, and I'm just, I'm mad. She's frustrated. I'm frustrated. And I'm like, okay, let me take a pause here and just back up and let me reanalyze this, because I didn't want to do something felt like was being forced. And I'm like, okay, let me re-gear here and just kind of think through this. And so I realized that I needed to make a new and different decision and analyze why I was making the decision that I was making and what was really leading up to that. And it was feelings. It was feelings that I had. Those feelings were incorrect. They were based on not looking at something the right way. And so I said, okay, I'm going to reanalyze this. I'm going to make a better decision. That's what I ended up doing. And that's what you guys are going to have to do. Now, if you continue on, you're just going to stay in your own static, doing things exactly the same way. I mean, you guys know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. You can't do that, okay? If you're not where you want to be, you got to look at your decision-making process. You got to look at it right now and say, okay, where am I missing the boat here? Where am I falling short in my decision-making process? So let's talk about why I'm here. This picture I took the other morning, Tuesday morning. What it takes. You got to make the hard decisions. You've got to work your ass off while others are playing. This is something that most people don't want to do. You have to have focus, discipline, drive, and consistency. You can never settle. You can never settle for second best. You can't do that. You absolutely cannot. And you've got to put yourself in a position to be generating multiple streams of income and multiple streams of internet income, so that when you're doing what we did and having to take time and 13 hours in a car, driving where I can't be on iPads or computers, things like that, we still have money coming in. I still have money coming in while I'm sleeping. Still have money coming in while I'm on this with you right now. And that's the position that you guys have got to put yourselves in. That's what we teach in 10 by 10 Academy. It's what we're doing with doTERRA. That's what we're doing with Affiliate Ninja. That's what we're doing with S3 and our stripper crew, is showing people how to generate multiple streams of income to then parlay that into multiple streams of internet income so that you guys can do the exact same thing. And maybe the beach isn't your thing. That's totally okay. It doesn't have to be. Maybe the mountains. Maybe, maybe you want to go to New York City. I don't know. Whatever it is totally fine. But if you don't start moving in the direction right now to do that, you're never going to get there. And this is the key thing that is the big differentiator in successful people versus those who are not successful and who don't have what they want. And I have to go back to Brian Tracy again, because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And that is, successful people do what they know they should do when they know they should do it, whether they feel like it or not. Whether they feel like it or not. Let me repeat that one more time. Whether they feel like it or not. And that is what it takes. Doing what you know you should do when you know you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. Let me explain to you. I'm going to apply that here real quick. I'd rather be on the beach right now than doing this webinar. It's gorgeous out there. Watch people have fun right now. But this is what I knew I should do. And this is the time I knew I should do it. because we have commitments that we have to keep. We have promises of mastermind calls and webinars that people are paying for. So that's why we're here today. Is I'm doing what I know I should do when I should do it, whether I feel like it or not. And is that taking away some time from the beach? It is. It's a hard decision that I didn't want to make, but I made it anyway. And that doesn't mean I deserve a pat on the back, because it's called being responsible. And sometimes that's what you have to do. I'm watching people out there drinking, having a good time, playing with the kids, doing all kinds of stuff on the beach. And I'll be there soon enough, but this is where we needed to be. And hopefully in doing this, we're helping a lot of you achieve the same things. And so I'm going to leave you with this. The key component here that you need to take away from all this is that you need to make better decisions every day. Wish I had an echo effect right now. I'd play every day over and over and over again. You need to make better decisions every day. That's the key component. You've got to do that. Okay? And like I said, if you can have some introspection and analyze, because I assume you're not where you want to be right now, whether it's financially, in a relationship, psychologically, professionally, locationally, however, if you're not where you want to be, it's the sum result of all the decisions you've ever made. So it's time to start making some better decisions. And in order to do that, you're going to have to analyze your decision-making process to fully understand why you make the decisions that you do and what metrics go into that process. And if you take that and you break that out, and now going forward, when you make a decision, you can reflect and say, okay, before I make this decision, let me make sure I'm not doing the exact same thing I've done every single time. That's what you're going to have to do. You've got to make better decisions. Okay, and those decisions have to be pushing you towards that dream that you have. Otherwise, you do exactly what Brian Tracy says. He says most people live lives of quiet desperation. And I think if you guys are honest with yourselves, you know a lot of people that are like that. They're not achieving what they want to achieve. They're struggling. They're frustrated. They don't see light at the end of the tunnel. They want to give up. They really have, in most cases, already given up. It's just plodding along another day, another day, another day. And then, watching me do some of the stuff that I do. And yeah, I'm a lucky SOB and all this, but it's because I make hard decisions that you guys are not willing to make yet. And you're going to have to get to that point where you're ready to make some hard decisions and then take action. Not fun, not pleasant, but it becomes fun and it becomes very pleasant. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay. I hope this has helped you guys today so you can understand to live the life that you want, you're going to have to change the way you're doing things. I hope that sinks in and you guys will begin taking action. You'll analyze your decision-making process. You'll improve upon it and you'll start making better decisions so that I'm not sitting here alone at the beach. That would be my wish for all of you. So I want you guys to have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for attending. I'll get this. This is being recorded, so we'll get it put up as soon as I get back. Probably won't be up until tomorrow. I will work to get it up before the Gator game starts tomorrow afternoon. Thank you again for attending. For many of them, we have a ton of our clients on here and members and subscribers, and I appreciate that. Thanks for taking the time out this afternoon. I hope this has helped. If it has, please leave me a comment on Facebook. And I will be in touch with you guys over the weekend. Have a wonderful weekend.